Let's kick things off with number 10. We have the appearance of the Mahdi. Now, in simplest terms, the Mahdi is Islam's Messiah or Savior. Now, the Mahdi will rise up to launch a massive social transformation in the world in order to restore and modify all things under divine guidance. So yeah, similar to other Abrahamic religions, Jews who are waiting for the Messiah, Christians who are waiting for the second coming of Jesus, and Muslims are waiting for both the Mahdi and Jesus. Number 9, there will be moral decay. Now, according to Muslims, yes, a lot of this is happening, but there's going to come a time where this is going to be on another level that has never reached before. So the moral conditions at that time will be at an all-time low. In the Islamic Hadith, it says, "From among the potents of the hour are the following. Religious knowledge will be taken away by the death of religious learned men. Religious ignorance will prevail. Drinking of alcoholic drinks will be very common. There will be prevalence of open illegal sexual intercourse." And that's found in the Al-Muslim volume 4, pages 1503 to 1504. Then next up, this is a pretty big one. At number 8, we have Mecca being attacked and the Kaaba being destroyed. Now, one of the last signs of the day of resurrection in Islam is the destruction of the Kaaba. And the Kaaba will actually be destroyed by Zul Suwakatayn, and he will be from Abyssinia, aka Ethiopia, and will destroy the Kaaba in order to steal its treasure and Kiswa, which is the cover of the Kaaba. And the destruction of the Kaaba is actually prophesied to happen after no faithful Muslim remains on the earth. Now, I talked about this briefly when I mentioned the return of the Mahdi, but it's also prophesied that, yes, Jesus will descend from heaven. So Muslims believe that Isa, aka Jesus, did not die on the cross, but that Allah raised him up to heaven, and that he's going to return one day to defeat the Dajjal, which is likened to the Antichrist. So according to the Hadith, Jesus is in the second heaven, and the Prophet Muhammad in this Hadith mentioned this, and I quote, "During the Mi'raj, which is the ascension, I met Isa on the second heaven. I found him of medium stature, reddish white. His body was so clean and clear that it appeared as though he had performed ghusl, which is an ablution cleansing of the entire body." Now, in another hadith, the Prophet Muhammad mentioned this: "Allah will send Messiah in Maryam," which is the Messiah, son of Mary. "Thus he will descend near the white eastern minaret of Damascus, clad in 2 yellow sheets, leaning on the shoulders of 2 angels." So we talked about the prophecies of the Mahdi and the Messiah, Isa or Jesus in Islam. Of course, we got to talk about the false Messiah now. So coming up at number 6, we have the false Messiah, Al-Dajjal, or the deceiver, aka the false Messiah / Antichrist in the Islamic faith. And he's a false messianic figure who will come forth before the end of time after a reign of 40 days or 40 years, and he will be totally destroyed by Jesus or the Mahdi or both of them. It just depends on which interpretation of the prophecy that you look at according to various Islamic views. But bottom line, this Dajjal or false Messiah is coming, and he's going to be destroyed. And then after that, the world will submit to God. And Dajjal, by the way, he's a bad brother. He's going to be performing miracles and deceive a whole lot of people. He's going to make it appear like he's raising people from the dead. So he's going to be really convincing. And at this time, it's going to be such a time of deception that, like, if you're not on your A game, you're going to be deceived. This guy's going to be the master deceiver. So now moving on to number 5, we have the prophecy of Yajuj and Majuj, aka Gog and Magog. So now this is recorded in the Quran in the following verse: "But when Yajuj and Majuj are let loose and they rush headlong down every hill." So just to talk a little bit more about Yajuj and Majuj, what's going on here anyways? Well, they're located in a land that's hidden from our sight, and the exact location of where they are is unknown. But though there are many interpretations that do exist, none of these, however, can be said to be 100% absolute. But they, the people of Yajuj and Majuj, are human beings, and according to a narration or a hadith, they are the offspring of Japheth, the son of Noah. These guys are so bad, like they can literally drink up a lake so fast, like all the water in the lake, and they just want to destroy people. Like they will destroy any living thing in their path. I ain't trying to see them let loose. No. I'm staying in self-isolation if that's the case. But anyways, guys, moving on to number 4, we have a huge black cloud of smoke that's going to cover the entire earth. So in the Quran, it says, "So be on the watch for a day when heaven shall bring a manifest smoke covering the people. This is a painful chastisement." And that's found in Surah 44 verses 10 and 11. And then the Prophet Muhammad also said, "The hour will not rise until you have seen 10 signs, the rising of the sun from the west and the smoke the beast." And actually, let me just pause the quote right there, because there's a difference of opinion regarding whether or not the smoke mentioned in this verse in the Quran refers to the smoke that was foretold as one of the signs of the final hour. It's mentioned that the smoke will cover the earth for a period of 40 days, which will affect both believers and disbelievers. Now, the believers will be affected as if they're suffering from a common cold or something, whereas the non-believers will suffer in a much more harsher way. But let's now move on to the prophecy of the beast of the earth. Now, the beast was also mentioned in the Quran in the following verse: "We shall bring forth for them out of the earth a beast that shall speak unto them." And you can find that in Surah 27 verses 82. Now, there's differences of opinion amongst scholars regarding the details of the beast, but they are as follows. So the first is the appearance. So some scholars have held to the belief that the beast is a she-camel of the prophet Salih, and others stated that it's an animal that is a hybrid of many different animals, and others even say that this is actually a human being. Now, the next point is the place of emergence. Some scholars state that the beast will emerge from Mecca. Others say that it's going to emerge from the desert and then disappear, then emerge from a village and then disappear, and then finally from the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. Now, there's another opinion that states that this beast will emerge from Ta'if. Then the next difference is its speech. So the beast will address the people with the words of Allah, saying, "Mankind did not believe our signs," and that's in the Quran, Surah 7 verses 82, while other scholars quote Ibn Abbas that speaking refers to the action of the beast in differentiating the disbelievers from the believers. And then the final difference is the role that the beast is going to have. So the beast will be tasked to differentiate the believers from the disbelievers, and Abu Huraira narrates that the Prophet Muhammad said this: "The beast of the earth will emerge and have with it the staff of Moses and the ring of Solomon. Now, it will use these to mark off the disbelievers from the believers." But one thing scholars can agree on is that the beast is coming. Next up, prophecy number 2, we have the sun will rise from the west. So we know the sun rises in the east. Well, not that it rises in the east, but like in the eastern direction, or what we call east anyways. That's where the sun comes up, and over in the direction of the west, that's where the sun sets. But in Islam, it is prophesied that the sun will rise from the west instead of rising from the east in the end times before the day of judgment. Now, both the Quran and the Hadith, they talk about this phenomenon, and the occurrence of this phenomenon is considered in Islam as one of the major signs that indicate that the day of judgment is close. Specifically, the Quran says, "No good will it do to a person to believe then, if he believed not before, nor earned good by performing deeds of righteousness through his faith." And that's found in Surah 6 verses 158. And this verse is believed to be referring to the rising of the sun from the west, according to popular opinion of Muslim scholars. It is also believed that the Prophet Muhammad said that becoming a believer will be of no benefit after the sun rises from the west. And finally, the last prophecy to mention in this episode is the second blow of the trumpet that's gonna sound. The Prophet Muhammad, he is believed to have said that one who will blow the trumpet has been ready to do this since Allah created him. And in a quote, the Messenger of Allah said, "The gaze of the one who will blow the trumpet has been fixed since he was entrusted with it, looking towards the throne, ready to blow it in case he will be commanded to do so before he blinks, as if his eyes are two shining stars. Now, the majority of the Muslim scholars share the view that the trumpet will be blown twice. Now, on the first trumpet, all creatures will pretty much just pass out, and the second trumpet is a time of resurrection, and this is based on the verse in which the Quran says, "And the trumpet will be blown, and all who are in the heavens and all who are on the earth will swoon away, except him who Allah wills. Then it will be blown a second time, and behold, they will be standing, looking on, waiting." And you can find that in the Quran, Surah 39, verses 68. And just like that, we've come to the end of this episode. That was 10 surprising prophecies in Islam that have not come true yet. Be sure to sound off in the comment section down below. Join in on the conversation. Let me hear your thoughts and comments about anything that I shared in this video. Also, if you have any future FTD Facts episodes that you want to see, leave your requests down below as well. Alright guys, so I'm going to get out of here. Be sure to follow me on social media. Those links are below in the video description section, and I'll leave you with a recommended episode at this end screen. If you enjoyed this one, definitely don't want to miss this one, alright? Alright guys, it's been awesome hanging out with you and learning with you here in another episode, and I'll see you next time from Self-Isolation Headquarters, aka my bedroom. So let's get started. At number 10, we have the prophecy of the establishment of Israel. You can find this prophecy in Surah 17 in the Quran, and it goes as follows. "And after him we said to the children of Israel, dwell ye in the promised land, and when the time of the promise of the latter days come, we shall bring you together out of various people." Number 9 brings us the prophecy of the Mahdi, or the guided one. And this prophecy states that the guided one will appear to be the Imam of the Muslims. This is found in the Hadith Sunan Abu Dawud, book 36, number 4272. The Mahdi is known as the Redeemer in Islam according to some Islamic traditions, and this person will appear and rule for 5, 7, or 9 or even 19 years according to different interpretations. There is, however, no direct reference of the Mahdi in the Quran, only in the Hadith, and in most Islamic traditions, the Mahdi will arrive along with Isa or Jesus to defeat Dajjal, or the false Messiah. There's also a prophecy of earthquakes. In the Hadith, it says, "The hour will not be established till earthquakes will increase in number," and that is found in Bukhari, volume 9, book 88. Yajuj and Majuj is another prophecy at number 7, and this is recorded in the Quran in the following verse. "But when Yajuj and Majuj are let loose and they rush headlong down every hill." Specifically, that's in Surah 21. And if you're not familiar, Yajuj and Majuj, they are a group of people that now they're situated in a land that is hidden from sight. It's completely blocked off, and that location that they are specifically is unknown. They're believed to be humans that, according to one narration, are the offspring of one of Noah's sons, known as Yafith or Japheth in English. And Prophet Noah is known as Nuh in Arabic. Number 6 brings us a prophecy about STDs that are going to be increasing and spreading in the land rampantly. In the Hadith, there's a passage that says, "O Muhajirun, you may be afflicted by 5 things. God forbid that you should live to see them. If fornication should become widespread, you shall realize that this has never happened without a new disease befalling the people which their forebears never suffered." So that talks about fornication and disease, STD, sexually transmitted disease. Moving on to number 5, there's a prophecy involving the darkness of the sun and the moon. This is found in the Quran, Surah 75, verses 6 to 9. And that goes as follows. "When is the day of resurrection? So when the sight becomes dazed and the moon becomes dark and the sun and the moon are brought together." So in that passage, the sun is going to lose its brightness and heat and become dark, and the moon also is going to be darkened as well. The Kaaba getting destroyed is a prophecy at number 4. It's said that there's an Abyssinian leader with 2 small shanks is going to be the person that is going to destroy the Kaaba. Now the Kaaba is, by the way, what Muslims refer to as the house of God. It is located in Mecca, and Muslims every single year perform a pilgrimage known as Hajj, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And this is referred to, by the way, in the Hadith Sahih Muslim book 41, number 6951. The next prophecy to look at is the sun rising in the west. Islam prophesies that the sun is one day going to rise from the west instead of rising from the east as it normally does. This is going to be in the end times, just before the day of judgment. Both the Quran and the Hadith mention this, and this is actually considered to be one of the major signs that indicate that Judgment Day is really close. There is reference to this in the Quran, and also in the Hadith. It's believed that the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "Becoming a believer will be of no benefit after the sun rises from the west." For number 2, let's talk about the smoke covering the earth prophecy. Over in the Quran, here's a passage that says this: "So be on the watch for a day when heaven shall bring a manifest smoke covering the people. This is a painful chastisement." That's taken from Surah 44 verses 10 to 11. And according to the Hadith, the Prophet Muhammad said these words: "The hour will not rise until you have seen 10 signs: the rising of the sun from the west, the smoke, the beast." And it goes on, but as you can see, the smoke is there in this passage as well. Now, there is some differences of opinions whether or not the smoke that's mentioned in the verses of the Quran refers to the smoke that was actually foretold as one of the major signs of the Day of Judgment. It's mentioned that the smoke is going to cover the earth for a period of 40 days, and then this is going to affect the believers as well as the disbelievers. But the believers are not going to suffer as much, but the disbelievers are going to be suffering a whole lot. Either way, that leads us to our final prophecy, and that is the prophecy of Jesus' return. Muslims believe that Isa, also known as Jesus, did not die on the cross, but that Allah raised him to heaven, and one day he's going to return to defeat Dajjal, or the Antichrist or false Messiah. According to one hadith, Jesus is now in the second heaven, and the Prophet Muhammad mentioned this: "During the Miraj or Ascension, I met Isa on the second heaven. I found him of medium stature, reddish white. His body was so clean and clear that it appeared as though he had just performed ghusl, which is ablution and cleansing the entire body." And in another hadith, the Prophet Muhammad mentioned, "Allah will send Masih ibn Maryam," which is Messiah, the son of Mary. "Thus he will descend near the white eastern minaret of Damascus, clad in 2 yellow sheets, leaning on the shoulders of 2 angels." Starting at number 10, we have enmity among Christians. So enmity among Christian sects until the day of resurrection was a prophecy, and it's in Surah Al-Ma'idah verses 14, and it says, "From those who call themselves Christians we took their covenant, but they have abandoned a good part of the message that was sent to them. So we planted amongst them enmity and hatred till the day of resurrection, when they discarded Allah's book, disobeyed Allah's messengers and his orders, and transgressed beyond bounds in Allah's disobedience. And Allah will inform them of what they used to do." For number 9, the Prophet Muhammad shares a prophecy that his religion would prevail over all others. And Allah has said this to him: "It is he who has sent his messenger Muhammad with guidance and the religion of truth, Islam, to make it superior over all religions." You can find this info in several surahs in the Quran. Al-Taba 9:33, then there's Al-Fat 48:28, and then there's Al-Saf 61:9. There's also a prophecy that rain will stop and plants will die, and this is going to happen in the 3rd year prior to the Antichrist. A third of the rain will not fall, and then the next year 2/3 will not fall, and then in the year of the Antichrist there's going to be no rainfall. And many Muslims believe that these predictions appear to be coming to pass right now, as climate change actually alters the patterns in rain in the Middle East as well as different parts of the world. Number 7, let's talk about economic sanctions. In the Hadith Al-Bidayah wa Al-Nihaya, page 47, it says, "The people of Iraq and the people of Syria and the people of Egypt will suffer from economic sanctions imposed by those of European descent. Then the time of the Mahdi will come, and he will establish justice, a strong caliphate, and there will be an abundance of money." The 3 trials come in at number 6, And there's a prophecy that these 3 trials will hit the Muslim world before the Antichrist appears. There's going to be the trial of retreat and war, and then there's going to be the trial of false happiness, and it will come from a man, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, but he will not be a good person. And then people will resolve their differences with a weak and unstable leader, as he's called. And then next, there's going to be catastrophe that's going to hit every person in the Muslim world. Now when people start thinking that it's over, it'll hit them again, and at the end they will be divided into 2 groups. One group is going to be those who have pure belief, and the other group those who are going to be filled with hypocrisy. And then when this happens, it's said that the Antichrist will appear any minute. And that's from the Hadith Al-Bidayah wa Al-Nihaya, page 53 to 54. Halfway to number 5, there's a prophecy of Israel. So the development of the area of modern day Israel means that the city of Medina is about to fall apart. And then the falling apart of Medina means that the great battle of Armageddon is about to happen. And then the great battle of Armageddon means that the city of modern day Istanbul is about to fall to Muslim rule. Now when it falls, that means that the Antichrist also is about to appear. And that's found in the same Hadith, page 65. Number 4 brings us a prophecy of lightning being increased. So it said that lightning strikes will increase until it becomes common for people to be killed by lightning strikes. Now that's not a common thing. It's very rare to be struck by lightning. As a matter of fact, they do say that it is more common to be struck by lightning than it is to win the lottery. Hope I ain't one of those people get struck by lightning. No. That just looks so painful. Then there is the prophecy of Yajuj and Majuj, aka Gog and Magog, and they will be released. Their army will come swarming down from every place to kill and destroy what they find. Now the people will set up defenses in their cities, and it's said that Jesus will lead his followers to take up a defensive position in the mountains. And when they think that they have killed those on earth, Yajuj and Majuj will then try to kill those in the air. And then it said that Jesus and his followers will pray, and God will send disease that will kill Yajuj and Majuj. And then heavy rain is going to fall on the earth, and the earth will produce again. And Yajuj and Majuj are described as having round faces, very small eyes, and black hair with reddish and yellow highlights. And that's found in the same Hadith, page 132 to 133, as well as 134. Now number 2 brings us a man from Ethiopia. So in this prophecy, a man will appear from the land in the area of modern day Ethiopia, and he will actually tear down the Kaaba. Now the Quran and Islam will be lost until there are groups of people with the elderly among them who will only carry a very small memory of the oneness of God. Now when the end time comes, there will not be a single person left on earth that calls on Allah's name. Also it said that idol worship will return to the Arabs. And that's also found in the Hadith Al-Bidayah wa Al-Nihaya, page 136, page 28 to 29, and also page 45. And the final prophecy is fire. So the fire will appear from the bottom of Aden in modern day Yemen, and it will drive people as they try to run away from it to the land of modern day Syria. Then it said that there's going to be a horn that's going to be blown, and everyone will be left in complete terror. And you can also find this in the same Hadith, page 143 and page 175. At number 10, we have Dajjal. The appearance of the Antichrist called Dajjal is a big one. However, Dajjal is not actually mentioned in the Quran, only in the Hadith. Apparently, he will be a Jew that's born in Iran to parents who have not had any children for 30 years. He'll also have only one eye, and he'll claim to be a prophet. He'll deceive a lot of people by performing miracles, and the Hadith mentions that he'll have the word infidel or unbeliever written on his forehead. Now I actually did a full video on Dajjal, and if you haven't seen it already, I have a link to that down below. Check it out, it's very interesting. At number 9, women outnumbering men 50 to 1. This is one of the minor signs of the end times in Islam, that women will outnumber men by a 50 to 1 ratio. Now no reason is actually given, but Muslims do speculate that this could be due to men that will give their life for their faith or other military duties where women aren't necessarily as much involved as men are. Then this would eventually impact the total amount of men alive versus women alive, so the ratio will tip. The beast comes in at number 8, but this is not too scary because it's a good beast. So before the time of the end, there's going to be this good beast that comes from out of the earth. And now the beast will tell the world to recognize Allah as the supreme God. The beast will wear a ring of King Solomon, another prophet from the Quran, as well as he'll carry the rod of Moses, which is also a prophet. Also, those who reject this message will have the word infidel also written on their foreheads, similar to Dajjal. The great fire is next. So there's going to be a great fire that breaks out from the south of Eden, which today is actually known as Yemen. Now this blaze will spread worldwide, and it's going to be so intense that it's going to drive everybody to the place of final assembly just before the day of resurrection. Now that place will be in Syria, which includes modern day Palestine. All people are subjected to two judgments. There's that preliminary judgment at death, and then the final judgment at the time of resurrection. There's also the reign of Jesus. Jesus will proclaim Islam to be the true religion, and all Christians apparently are going to convert when this happens. All other religions are going to be totally eliminated as well, and Jesus will be the sole ruler of the earth. Every single animal that's harmful is going to be completely domesticated, and there's going to be a lot of rain and a plentiful amount of crops and food, and everything's going to be great. There's not going to be any weapons for war or anything like that. Everything's going to be used for the good of humanity. But the thing is, the reign of Jesus is only going to last for 40 years. And during that time, he's going to be regularly going to the city of Mecca. 21 years into his reign, it's said that he's going to marry and have children. And 19 years later, he'll pass away. Now, he'll be buried in Medina next to the Prophet Muhammad, where he will also await the day of resurrection. So when Jesus dies, all the believers will also die peacefully. And unbelievers will be left alone, left behind to just fully indulge their evil passions. Gog and Magog come at number 5. Well, before the reign of Jesus happens, the invasion of Gog and Magog will happen. Now this one is mentioned in the Quran in Surah 18 verses 83 to 99, as well as Surah 21 verse 96. Gog and Magog are represented by two nations that are going to have a massive army, and they're going to invade Palestine from the north, and they'll also besiege Jesus as well as his followers. And Jesus at that time is going to pray to Allah to save them, and that's when Allah is going to respond by sending this insect plague that's going to destroy all of those armies. Now, one of the last signs before the end will be an amazing miracle that's going to happen. The sun is actually going to rise in the west. Normally it's in the east. Another minor sign is the smoke. So according to the Quran, there's going to be this cloud of smoke that's going to arise and just cover the entire earth. Now when this happens, it's going to cause a lot of suffering on the planet. Now number 2, the Caliphate, which is the seat of Islamic authority, will be established in the Holy Land. Now a lot of Muslims have a hard time with this because they're not necessarily sure what the term Holy Land actually means. Some say it refers to Palestine, and if it does refer to Palestine, that means that this prophecy hasn't happened yet. And some Muslims believe that this refers to Saudi Arabia, and if it is Saudi Arabia, then this prophecy was fulfilled 1400 years ago. And the final sign of prophecy that I want to mention dealing with the end times in Islam is the 3 trumpets. So after the gathering of the people that I mentioned to Syria from around the world, the first of the 3 trumpets will blow. The first is called the trumpet of terror, and that's going to be like a wake-up call. It's going to like put a lot of fear in the hearts of people, like, oh my god, the end is coming. Then there's going to be a second trumpet, and that one is called the trumpet of swoon. This will make every single creature in heaven and earth die except God, and except anyone that God chooses to spare, as well as the martyrs who are alive in paradise. They will all be fine. Now when the universe is totally empty of all life, Allah will declare that he's all powerful and the God of all. 3 times Allah is going to shout, I am the mighty one, and then again 3 times he's going to say, to whom does the kingdom belong to? Then obviously there's going to be no answer back, and he's going to say, it belongs to the only one God, the conqueror. During the time between these 2 trumpets, that's when Allah is going to create a new heavens and a new earth, and when it's complete, that's when the final trumpet is going to be blown, and that is the trumpet of resurrection.